Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're very happy to be meeting with everyone again. Thanks so much for tuning in. November marks a very important month in our caregiving community. So we're so excited to spend the very first day of National Family Caregiver Month sharing and connecting with our caregivers in our community. We want to recognize the amount of love, time, and dedication that caregivers spend on their loved ones every single day. And with retirement home costs and at-home healthcare costs continuing to rise, the number of family caregivers or informal caregivers are continuing to grow year over year. So actually, according to the U.S. Alzheimer's Association, as of 2023, there are over 38 million U.S. individuals providing at-home care to a loved one. This number is expected to continue to grow significantly over the years. So with this growing rise in caregivers, the team here at First Quality and Prevail Cares wants to be at the forefront of providing accessible, reliable expertise and resources to the caregivers in our community. We understand that caregivers have so much on their plate, and incontinence care is often one of the last things someone thinks about in their caregiving to-do list. So that's where the caregivers in our community can lean on us. As your incontinence care experts, we can provide caregivers with the time, resources, products, and medical expertise to ensure you feel confident providing care to your loved one. Kim and I are going to share 5 incontinence care tips and tricks that caregivers can use during the holiday season. With the holiday season among us, there's a lot of different food that we eat. Not the typical day-to-day food. And so the first tip or trick, Kim, that I'd love for you to share is speaking about potential food and beverages that may actually irritate the bladder.
Right.
So go ahead.
People they don't think about food, right? Certainly the holiday seasons are coming. There's going to be a lot of celebration, a lot of food, probably a lot of beverages. And people just typically don't associate what their intake is, right? From a diet and a beverage standpoint, that's going to impact your bladder health. What many individuals who are incontinent tend to do is not hydrate themselves, right? Especially, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about travel, especially if they're traveling or they're around big groups. We have the family gatherings. I don't want to drink too much because I may have an incontinent episode, my bladder may leak, or I'm going to be rushing to the restroom. So they withhold that liquid. And what happens is if we're not hydrated, right? We know hydration is great for our body, overall body health, but also for our bladder health. And if we're not well hydrated, say with water, the urine becomes concentrated in our bladder, and it can actually cause bladder irritation, which will lead to or have the potential to lead to bladder leaks. So it becomes right? Counterproductive, right?
It's also counterintuitive because you would think, okay, like if I don't drink a bunch of liquid during the day, I won't have an accident, I won't have a leak, but that's actually not the case.
No. Right. So we stay hydrated in the summer, stay hydrated, drink plenty of water, during the family times while we're traveling, make sure we're doing that. But there's some beverages you may want to stay away from. They are considered kind of bladder irritants. They may stimulate the bladder. Things like caffeinated drinks, right? We're into that fall season. Most people I think are probably experiencing fall weather. We're still dealing with the end of the summer here, but the crisp mornings, a warm cup of coffee sounds fantastic, but coffee contains caffeine, and caffeine can actually stimulate the bladder. Kind of with the tea the same way. Some people don't like their coffee. They would rather have their tea. The caffeinated tea, same thing with the caffeine. It can actually stimulate the bladder, which can cause us to have to go to the restroom even more. With caffeine, will dehydrate you also. A lot of people don't think about that because it becomes a diuretic, right? We're urinating more, and then we have that potential to become dehydrated. Other beverages that, as we're heading into that holiday season, is, there's going to be fun times, family gatherings, the spirits that we may be having during that. right? Whether it's wine, beer, or a delicious, winter cocktail, those actually will irritate the bladder as well. So we want to make sure we're doing that in moderation, certainly from a health standpoint. But if you're someone who's experiencing bladder leaks, or you're caring for someone that is, maybe make sure we're doing that in moderation. Another one that people tend to really not think about, that good old morning orange juice, right? How many people orange juice with your breakfast? Maybe it's a cup of coffee and a glass of orange juice while we're eating our delicious breakfast, and we're actually irritating the bladder with that. So certainly we never want to take away all the things that we enjoy, but be very mindful of that and make sure that we're doing that within moderation, certainly.
So I would assume with, the citrus-based drinks, it's irritating the bladder due to high acidity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of ties, and I know we'll talk a little bit about food, right? Kind of rolls right into the food. Anything citrus-based, it's the acidic, right? It's the acid that can irritate the bladder. And when you think of drinks, certainly orange juice, some people like other citrus fruit drinks, those as well. One I didn't mention was carbonated drinks. I know that a lot of people like sparkling water that's carbonated, right? As well as soft drinks. Soft drinks is kind of the double. It has the caffeine, it has the carbonation. They all will actually irritate or have the potential to irritate the bladder, which can certainly lead to incontinent episodes or bladder leakage.
So that also includes sparkling waters?
Yes, it's the carbonation, right? Okay. It's the carbonation that's in there, where the soft drinks have the caffeine, unless you're drinking a soft drink that's caffeinated free, right? I don't know many people that do that, but any that the caffeine and then you add the carbonation in itself, it will actually irritate the bladder. Leading to that potential risk there.
Yeah, so as a caregiver, it's important to watch those specific drinks.
Yes.
For the one that you're providing the care for, and if they do have it in moderation.
Moderation, absolutely. Drink good water. Water's fantastic, right? Water's great for our overall body health, and it keeps you hydrated.
Yeah, absolutely. So that covers the drink side of the equation. What about food? Are there foods that we consume that may also impact bladder health?
Absolutely. So just like the acidic fruit juices that we want to be mindful if we're having that intake, we want to be mindful of that as well when we're eating. I don't know about you, Annika, but good spicy foods, always fantastic, especially when it gets into the colder months. But the spices like red peppers, some of the sauces, you can get certain foods that are extremely spicy. Those things can start to begin to irritate the bladder as well. So be mindful of that. We talk tomato paste, right? People think about a good pasta dinner, any tomato base, because tomato is very acidic. So any of your delicious red sauce pastas, be mindful if you're eating a lot of that. I know that's a big thing during the holidays. So keep that in the back of your pockets. When we start mixing the acidic foods along with those particular beverages, we really can start to irritate the bladder. Another one to think about with food is chocolate, right? The holidays, everyone's going to be baking, everyone's going to be making their candies, all the delicious things, but chocolate contains caffeine. So caffeine is that bladder stimulant, and certainly we talked about that with the soft drinks. It can have the same impact if you're eating a lot of chocolate as well.
I see. Okay. And I would imagine as well with certain chocolates, perhaps like the artificial sweeteners could cause a problem there.
So there has been some talk about how certain people may have experienced bladder leakage or increased bladder leakage with those artificial sweeteners like aspartame, for example. So if you're having the, kind of tie it back to our coffee again, be mindful of what we're using when we're putting our cream and sugar and so forth in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Those are great tips. And then another one that is surprising to me that's on this list here is honey. Can you speak on that a little bit?
So honey is very sweet, right? And particularly if you're having a local honey, you're looking at the things from a pollen standpoint and the local allergens that could potentially irritate the bladder. But with honey sweetness in itself, it's that sweetness that can certainly begin to irritate the bladder.
Interesting.
It's not the most common, right? We're seeing studies and things that are linking that to bladder leakage as well.
Okay, alrighty. Well, hefty list and important to think about during the holidays. That's a great tip. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. But still,
So
enjoy your holiday meal, right? Enjoy the
absolutely.
Everything's in moderation. Just be mindful of it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just important to know. Absolutely. For me personally, we travel over the holidays. Thankfully, my parents live very close, so I'm not going too far. But for Thanksgiving, I spend it with my mom, and then the day afterwards, I'm at my dad's house. So on that note, let's talk about how to handle leaks on the go. And first things first, if I'm caring for a loved one that's experiencing incontinence, I'm thinking about all the what if scenarios, right? And I want to have a to-go bag with me if we're going to the in-laws' house, for example. So do you have any recommendations on what to pack if you're traveling to others' homes for the holidays?
Absolutely. And even though we're talking about the holidays, these are good tips to know if you're a new caregiver or caring for someone who's experiencing incontinence for the first time. Look, the only people that need to know are you and the person you're caring for, right? It can be a cosmetic bag, a backpack, whatever your bag of choice is. If you're flying, it could be in your carry-on, but something that you're comfortable with carrying around. And you want to have that kind of, just like you pack your suitcase, right? You're going to have your essentials there ready to go. You're going to have your dedicated bag that has the items that you really need to have on hand in the event you were to experience an incontinent episode or your loved one does, right? So think about, and it doesn't have to be big, right? A lot of people go, oh, well, I'm incontinent or I'm caring for mom or dad and I need a full backpack. Not really. What you need to have is certainly extra product, right? Have just a couple pieces. It doesn't need to be the whole pack. We can pack that in our suitcase. Have a couple of pieces. Have some adult washcloths. Even though we're traveling, skincare is definitely important as we're traveling and we have an incontinent episode. We want to make sure we're still taking care of our skin. Pack an extra change of clothes. And a lot of people I see will take those and put them in a gallon, like a gallon Ziploc bag, right? They'll take their clothes and just kind of pack those in there and fold them up and put them in their backpack or their carry-on. That way you can kind of compress them a little bit, right? So you change them underclothes, pants, shirt, whatever you may need, just to have that there, your extra product, your wipes. And the one thing people don't think about is small bags to be able to place the soiled product in, and then another one of those Ziploc bags to put any soiled clothes. So that way you're not panicking on, oh my goodness, mom has, mom has had an incident. Now we need to, go change her clothes. What am I going to do with her soiled clothes? A Ziploc bag works wonders because you can seal it, and then you can seal, any sort of odor that may be associated with that in the bag. So it's great to have those things when you're traveling as well. Think ahead, right? Anything can happen. We travel, and you're lucky you're not traveling very far for the holidays, and I'm not either, thankfully. So that's good. But what people, we pack, we have to plan our trips, whether it's checking in, whether it's mapping out, getting directions, hotel reservations. Plan ahead with packing the bag, the extra pieces as well, but also be ready for things that could sideline your travel. Whether it's car trouble, whether there's not a restroom available, maybe your flight's delayed, maybe we missed the flight, maybe your checked luggage was lost, because we know that those things actually happen. I apologize.
Okay.
So be prepared, right? Just be prepared just like you would for anything else. Have that with you at all times. So the other piece is if you're going to your families, or maybe they're riding in the car, be thinking of any surface that your loved one or yourself may be sitting on. Underpads are great surface protectants. Certainly if we're in a long car ride for a while, take it, place it on top of your seat. It provides that extra layer of protection in the event that you need that. Certainly having the right product and the right size and fit is key to any product being successful. But be thinking ahead, just like we do with most things in life.
It's a great list of items to bring. And then I think, some water and snacks. Having items to drink and snack on will also ensure that you do not irritate your loved one's bladder, you know, thinking about the food and the beverages that we just talked about. So
great point.
I love to bring snacks with me, that's for sure.
Me too. Me too. There's always plenty in a bag.
Another tip or trick that I would love for you to speak, and we kind of hit on this earlier, but I'd love for you to speak a little bit more on, is how to prevent odor, right? So let's think about, you know, if we're traveling to our, you know, a family's house, let's say we are going on the airplane, and, you know, we're really trying to be cognizant of you know, our loved one that we're taking care of, and you know, maintain their dignity in this situation. Like, really do not want to make sure that anyone's embarrassed or nervous if there is an accident or a leak. So how do you prevent odor in those situations when you're traveling or in somewhere that you're not in your home, ultimately?
Right. And, you know, that's a great question. Many people, they fear being incontinent or having a bladder leakage episode. The next thing they fear is that odor that's associated with it. So it's a true feeling, and you don't want that, right? You don't want that for your loved one or for yourself. Prevail products actually have odor guard technology in our products. With the odor guard, it actually neutralizes the smell of urine before it starts. So it's a technology. It's not like a odor deodorizer spray, that sort of piece. It's in the core of our product, because we understand the importance of being able to not have odor associated with it. That also helps when we are removing the product and replacing them in the trash can and so forth, whether we're at it, like you mentioned, at a family member's home, I'm in their restroom, I don't want to have that, oh my goodness, I need to change my product, I don't want that smell. Having that odor there, actually the odor guard there decreases the smell of the urine as well with that product once you start discarding it. Certainly tying it up in a small bag if we have a sold product, you know, whether it's I see a lot of like the Target bags or the bags from the grocery store, the small plastic bags. You can tie it up in that and dispose of it at the trash can outside as well. That's a really important piece. Also, to protect odor, you know, from the odor prevention from that, make sure we're wearing the right size and make sure the product's applied correctly. And that's, you know, if you're new to caregiving or you're new to incontinence, you may not think about it, and you may be thinking, oh, I'm going to put on a larger product because we're going to be in the car for 3 hours, it's going to absorb more, where you may be setting yourself up for risk for leakage if you do have an incontinent episode or a bladder leak, if the product's not fitting accurately. So get the right level of product, right size, and know that all of our Prevail products have the odor guard technology right in the core.
Yeah, I think just to speak a little bit more on that, I feel like a lot of folks associate a larger product, like a bulkier product, as a more successful incontinent product, right? So like you were just saying, we're on a long car ride. I want to make sure that my mom is wearing perhaps like an extra large protective underwear when in fact she's a small medium. And that actually can set her up for failure because it's not fitting properly. Right. And it's just kind of counterintuitive to think about it like that, but that is the truth. That is the case. So being fitted properly, making sure that the product is actually touching the skin, and I don't know, I feel like you'd probably be able to say it better than I can, but just making sure that it's fitting in all the right places. There's no gaps. Is key, and make sure that you know, she's successful and you're successful in your travels.
You did a great job, right? You did a great job making sure it's touching the skin, the leg openings are laying right in the groin area. Absolutely. Think of it as, you mentioned a protective underwear. That should fit like their traditional undergarment, right? So when you're putting on that protective underwear, if we're using a product that's too big, it's not going to fit like their traditional undergarment. It's going to be gapping. So when you're applying the product or helping mom, take a quick look and just make sure it's nice and snug and everything is touching the skin up close in the peri area. That's going to set her up for success and give her that security and comfort. Hey, I'm in this 4-hour car ride, and I got my bag of snacks, and I have, you know, my extra things over here, and everything's going to be good. We're going to have a good trip and no traffic delays, right?
Hopefully, right?
Right.
Perfect. All right. So let's move on to our fourth trick and tip. You know what I mean?
Yes.
For the holiday season. So as the weather continues to get colder, a lot of people will get sick. You'll get the cold, you'll get the flu, and it's typical to just take some over-the-counter meds when you're not feeling great. But I would love for you to speak on about medications and their effects on incontinence.
Absolutely. So you're right, cold and flu season along with holiday season is upon us. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I get a cold, you get a cold, we're going to run to the pharmacy and pick up something over the counter. Typically something that would contain, say, an antihistamine or a decongestant, right? We're talking about colds, congestion. Mom's taken this forever and now she has a cold. I think I'll grab this and it'll work. Antihistamines actually have an effect on where they relax everything, right? Certainly they help us with the cold symptoms, but it can actually cause the bladder to relax and could set mom up to have a little bit of bladder leakage related to that. Decongestants, certainly they dry us up, they help make sure that we don't have that congestion that we're all can experience during this time of year, but they can also cause irritation with the bladder. And those are two common medications that are in probably the majority of your over-the-counter cold medicines, right? Different doses, different types, but they would fall in that antihistamine or decongestant category. The other one that people don't think about is cough syrup. And and I say cough syrup, but it would typically be maybe a cough suppressant per se that could have the items that we just mentioned, but also alcohol. You can get certain pill forms to help suppress cough, but you can also take cough syrups and they would have alcohol. And just like we talked about the spirits earlier, the alcohol in the cough syrup would have the same effect. So
I see.
Okay. Keep that in mind, right? It can start to irritate the bladder. It can certainly cause increased urination, those sort of things as they impact and affect your system. The other one is there could be caffeine. A lot of times I believe in decongestants, if you notice that. So we talked about caffeine in the coffee, we talked about it in the chocolate. Every direction we turn, during this wonderful season of the year, there's little hidden things that we just may not think of, right?
Yeah, and I guess a question for you is, I feel like you can still have these over-the-counter meds. It's more just being mindful and being aware of the potential effects that it could have on the bladder for the person that you're providing care for.
Absolutely. So if you're taking these medications or you're providing them to your loved one and you notice anything that's unusual, right? If this is the first time mom's taking this medication, you just notice any changes in their bladder leakage, certainly contact your healthcare professional, right? We always want to make sure that nothing else is being overlooked. If mom's already not feeling well from one thing, let's make sure that mom's okay. But certainly any significant change in your bladder health, definitely reach out to your healthcare provider.
Awesome. Great tip. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, we're on our last tip, 5 out of 5. And I'll let you share, our great resources that we have to offer. But for our caregivers who have questions, how to apply the product properly on my mom. How do I know which size is the best? What's the difference between all these different products? I'm overwhelmed. I need help. How can people contact us? How can people speak to you, Kim? If you could just speak a little bit on our great Prevail eNurse, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. Absolutely. So, and I think you said it very well, right? What if, it's overwhelming. Look, incontinence can be overwhelming. Bladder leaks can be overwhelming. If you yourself definitely can feel the stress of that. What do I do? What are the next steps? But if you're caring for a loved one, whether it's mom, dad, or your grandparents, that adds another stress level to being a caregiver. Know that we're here to help. With our Prevail eNurse team, we have a full suite of professional licensed nurses who are truly the incontinent experts. They understand it, right? They can help the caregiver, they can help you walk through what you're experiencing, go through our catalog of products. They understand every product. They will help find the best product to meet your incontinent needs. A lot of times the misconception is, oh, I'm incontinent, I need a 4-tab brief. No, as nurses, we want to help kind of talk through that. Maybe it's just a bladder control pad. We want you to maintain your dignity, but they'll help find the product that will provide you the best level of protection based on your individual needs or your family members' individual needs. It's 100% confidential. No one wants to talk about bladder leaks or incontinence. We understand that it's uncomfortable, except for, we talk about this every day, and that's part of our goal, is to normalize this conversation. So if you contact the Prevail eNurse, they're available 7 days a week. You will talk to a Prevail eNurse. They are all, first quality team members. They know every product that we manufacture, and their goal is to be there for you and provide you that guidance into being able to have a great life, move forward, and not let incontinence hinder, your holiday season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's such a wonderful resource that we offer. And like Kim, you were just saying, 100% confidential,
right.
100% free. Like, having that resource at your fingertips is so, so special. And that personalized help is just, it's wonderful, because it's an overwhelming topic.
Yes.
It can be an embarrassing topic. And our goal is to provide dignity and to allow folks to keep living their best life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the way you can reach out to them is certainly at prevail.com. You can chat with a nurse, but you can also speak with them at 866-573-3776.
And we have that information on our website. We have it on our social media platforms. I'm pretty sure we have it in our bio as well on Instagram. So many places to find that phone number. So I think that's all of our tips and tricks for today. But thank you everyone so much for joining. It's always so great to do this. Kim, so great to do this with you.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Annika. We've had a great year with these, and look forward to our next one.